All right, so here is my weekly English lesson for advanced learners. However, I haven't done it in a couple weeks. I was feeling sick. I did teach over the weekend like I do, so I made my lessons. I'm going to give you two right off the bat. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do my last week to catch up. So, fell a little bit behind. As you can see, this is from August 26th. I talked about my birthday outing. As you know, I always talk about my week, and then I build my lesson off of some activities there, and then maybe some online stories that are news or related or something like that. So here we go. I went to the night safari, and I talked about and showed some videos of all the cool animals in a night safari. There were lions and zebras and tigers and caribou and whatnot. But the most amazing creature was the meerkat. So I made a whole lesson based on the meerkat, or part of the lesson is based on the meerkat. So let me read this to you, then I will ask you some questions that you can follow along and answer too. Meerkats, recognized by their vigilant gaze, and are fascinating desert dwellers from southern Africa. Living in large clans, they work in shifts. While some forage, others stand tall as sentries, warning of dangers with a chorus of chirps and barks. These slender creatures are also expert diggers, using their sharp claws to create elaborate burrows for shelter. Behind their cute exterior is a world of complex communication and teamwork. Now, I talk a lot about these words, and I break it down into each sentence. So let's do it like that. Meerkats, recognized by their vigilant gaze, are fascinating desert dwellers from southern Africa. I talk about different things. We've got three words here, actually: vigilant, gaze, and then desert dweller. As you can see, anytime there's a hyphen, that's treated as one word. And in that case, that's a noun. But if you could say desert dwelling, and it would be an adjective. Dwelling is a home. Desert is the desert. So these are people that live in the deserts. I ask students, based on what they read, to try to figure out what these words might mean, and can you put them correctly in the right slot. So the security guard's blank stare made sure no one suspicious entered the building. Now, I changed the word stare from gaze, or as you can see, so this is also vigilant. A vigilant gaze is like vigilant stare. That helps you get an idea of what a gaze might be. She gave him a long blank before responding, and the answer there is gaze. She gave a long gaze before responding. Gaze is like a stare, or looking at someone in a certain way. And then the bottom one is, of course, the only one left. Many desert dwellers have adapted to harsh, arid environments. Arid being desert climate, dry and hot. Next sentence in this little passage: living in large clans, they work in shifts. While some forage, others stand tall as sentries, warning of dangers with a chorus of chirps and barks. There's a couple words there. Chorus, they usually know. Chorus is related to music and people singing in chorus. But chirps and barks are animal sounds. Typically, we say chirps are the sound of birds. Some geckos make chirps, but they're animal noises. Barks, dogs are what bark, but also maybe some sea otters or walrus or something. Seals, in general, chirps and barks are animal sounds. In this case, meerkats can make those sounds. Now, I talk about the meerkat is interesting the first time I heard the word meerkat, I thought it was a mere cat. I thought that's what it was, a meerkat. I didn't really know why. I thought maybe because sometimes they do mirror each other. They do some of the same actions. I didn't. I just figured it was. It sounds like meerkat, so I thought it was meerkat. It's not. It has nothing to do with that. I imagine the etymology of that word probably is unrelated to cat in every way. It's probably a native word of some sort that describes them. So going back here, we've got clans forged centuries. Again, the purpose of this is to understand the meaning from context. I actually don't expect most of my students to know these words, but I do expect them to guess at least on which ones they were. Sometimes you can just tell by the part of speech that it is. Living in large clans, they work in shifts, so they could see clans. A clan must be a group, typically a family group. Humans used to live in clans, and in some places we still do, or we just use the term clan to refer to our family, our group, maybe just even our close friends. It can be used in different ways, such as that. Forage. So while some forage, others stand tall as sentries. So it's either searching for food in the guards, especially soldiers. Given the context, sentries does sound like a guard, right? They're standing tall, warning of danger. While some forage, that would be searching for food. That makes sense. Again, parts of speech, tall as sentries, that is a noun. Forage is a verb. You can figure it out that way. And then I have a critical thinking question, communication. The passage mentions meerkats use a chorus of chirps and barks to communicate. Why might effective communication be critical in a habit with potential dangers? Can you think of other animals that rely heavily on unique forms of communication? So there's two questions here. The first question, it's an easy question, but again, the purpose here is to express yourself. So I want to hear that. I mean, we've already kind of talked about it. The answer's there. I just like hearing it. I like hearing my students describe why. Why is effective communication so important? And then they do learn some more words. If they didn't know critical, then why is it so important? Effective is good. Why is good communication so important in the habitat, in the homes of these of animals, and when there's potential dangers, dangers that may exist. Again, the whole part is an English lesson, so there's always words. I believe in learning words through context, understanding them. You're going to gain more vocabulary understanding by just reading questions, thinking about it, understanding the question, and answering it. So again, easy answer, right? I mean, if they don't communicate with each other, then they're all working alone, trying to defend themselves and protect themselves and find food and all this, working as a team. They can take turns in using chirps and barks to alert others, and they don't need to focus on protecting themselves. So they can trust that the ones who are tall sentries are going to alert them if there are any potential dangers, so the other ones can burrow holes and forage for food. Other animals that rely heavily on unique forms of communication. Again, this has nothing to do specifically with potential dangers. It could be, the way bees waggle their butts, different forms of communication. Fireflies, lightning bugs are sparking, finding a mate. They're talking to each other. Whales under the water, right? It's just looking to just think about. I'm just trying to get as many answers about any animal that they know about and how they communicate. Again, it doesn't matter too much which or why. I just want to hear some communication. Now, as I mentioned, my mother, she came with me, or maybe I didn't mention, but she came with us to the night safari, and I wrote this little story. I have them read it actually out loud, even though it's written in the first person, because I wrote it. Last Saturday was special because it was my birthday. But since I teach during weekends, I celebrated my 42nd birthday on Monday because my birthday was on Saturday. They actually knew that it was my birthday the week prior. My mother, my wife, and my son were there with me. Recently, my mother moved to an assisted living resort nearby for people of her age. She has a condition making it hard for her to remember things, but physically she's incredibly healthy at 76. She never visits the doctor. Instead, she believes in a healthy diet and daily exercise. Following her habits has been beneficial for me too. So she was living with me for a year. We tried different things. This is a really great community with a wonderful staff, and we're still able to go visit her, take her on some outings like this night safari, but it gives her more of the social environment and activities that I'm not quite able to provide, although, of course, she misses her grandson, which is the main highlight when we meet. So I always try to do some sort of event that is going to be fun for the whole family. Sometimes they had problems reading ordinal numbers like this, so I go ahead and, bam, I like breaking up my lessons like this. Go ahead and read these. Can you read them? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. I always joke about sixth. Sixth is uncomfortable. I don't really like pronouncing that word. Or 12th. I don't like that one either. And then twice a month I plan outings with her, talking about my mother, since she loves spending time with my son, his only living grandparent. That's actually not written that well. She is his only living grandparent. My father's died, and my wife's parents also have all died. So our family dynamics have changed over time in many places. In many places like the U.S., the essence of family sometimes gets overshadowed by modern life. But in Thailand, family ties remain strong and traditional. Speaking of traditions, let's talk about food. This Greek dish here reminds me of my Lebanese grandfather's recipes. We eat such foods with our hands. I've wondered, do people in China have any foods they eat by hand? And this is a cultural question. Again, my students mostly from China, and it's traditionally not acceptable to eat with your hands. Some students, I ask them in their families, they do, like dumplings or something. But actually, even dumplings, some of my students say no, absolutely not. They must use chopsticks. I love dumplings, but I pick them up with my hand and dip them. And then, of course, if they are eating Western foods, French fries and hamburgers and stuff, they do use their hands. But traditionally, Chinese foods don't. You don't use your hands. Maybe like a baozi or something, a little steam bun or something. But something like this even is like a deep fried eggplant dipped in tahini. I'm going to use my hands. Most foods, most Greek foods, most Lebanese foods, with lavash or some flatbread, you're going to use your hands. So here's some pictures of falafels. This is my birthday dinner, which is actually the day before the night safari event. We got some tabbouleh and hummus. Actually, and this is actually a hummus with falafel on the outside, and it's baba ganoush on the inside. So it was a nice big plate, very delicious. Some French fries. My son loves French fries. We also got some edamame, which is not Greek at all, but it was a fusion restaurant, in Thailand. So a lot of Thai foods as well. And the critical thinking question here is: in many traditional Chinese families, taking care of elderly parents is a duty and honor. How do you feel about my decision to move my mother to an assisted living resort? Would this become a common decision in China? Why or why not? A lot of different questions depending on the students. Some are, hustling, bustling, Beijing students, and if time and money provides them in this situation, they would find some facilities. Some of them do have grandparents living with them. It depends, at where the condition is and whatnot, but it definitely engaged in a lot of discussion. Another critical question is, with the changing dynamics of modern life, what values from traditional Chinese cultures would you like to retain and pass on to the next generation? Now, the word here, dynamics, is I actually break off and talk about dynamics. We if they're able to answer this question, they do. If not, I go to the dynamic section and then come back. But I do have one more question. This actually, if I didn't cover that eating with the hands, I said I mentioned eating certain foods with hands as part of my cultural heritage. Are there any traditional Chinese foods or habits that are unique and which you think the younger generation should know about and continue? So this had to do with different parts of China. They talk about the age and the whether men or women, who sits down first, the children, sometimes they sit at this table, who gets served first. There were a lot of different traditions. Some of them do follow them. They come from traditional families, some do not. Here's some questions for you now. Question is, why did I celebrate my birthday on Monday? I was sick on Saturday. I teach on Wednesdays. I teach on weekdays. Monday was a holiday because Monday was my birthday, or my mother was unavailable on Saturday. Do you remember the correct answer? The correct answer is I teach on weekends. I taught. My birthday was actually on the weekend, so I moved my celebration to another day. I'm not going to take the day off because I only teach on Saturdays and Sundays. So I generally never take the day off because I have Monday through Friday off. I don't want to take a whole day off of work. And how often do I plan outings with my mother? Once a week, once a year, twice a month, every weekend, or every other weekend? The answer was twice a month. Although I had never met my grandfather, he influenced my family's what? Exercise routine, living arrangements, astrological exploration, celebrations, or food traditions. Didn't say it exactly, but the answer is food traditions. Like I said, he did die before I was born, but Lebanese food was always a popular food for festival type holidays and whatnot. These are true or false. My mother lives with me now. False. I believe family ties are stronger in the U.S. than in Thailand. False. My mother believes in visiting the doctor regularly. False. Yeah, those are all false. I like to do that sometimes just to, so I'm still a little sick here. We got some, am I allowed to show brands? I think so. I'm giving, Ricola. Ricola is different herbal things. Sponsor the show? No, they're not. Hopefully they don't get upset that I'm showing their brand on video. They should be happy about it. Now let's go ahead and match these. Celebrated, dementia, essence, dynamics. Now, okay, I talked about the condition. I did talk about it. I broke into the Google Translate and showed Alzheimer, dementia, different conditions. We talked about it. Celebrated is marked a special occasion. Now that's true. That is as an adjective, and then not the past tense of the verb. Dementia, difficulty remembering things. Technically, that should be a condition of difficulty for remembering things. But I tried to make this as short as possible, and just able to match them. I mean, you can figure it out. Essence, the main part or nature of something, and dynamics, changes or forces involved in a situation. Again, I keep on I like bringing up dynamics because I had I like to learn words by context, and sometimes I believe, as frustrating as it is, but I've said this with my Thai students teaching at university, when I saw them, they'd read their books, and they just, like, first of all, the books were too difficult for them because there's so many words they didn't know, and they'd write the whole book. They look at every word they didn't know, and then they just write the meaning of the word by it. Um, but my argument is just read it. If there's so many words that you can't even understand at all, then the book's too difficult. But if you're able to just read it, don't worry if you don't understand the word. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but you'll eventually, over time, you'll see a word, and your brain will naturally kind of figure out its definition. But more than its definition, you'll get the essence of the word. There it is, essence. You'll get the essence of the word because you'll know how it's used properly in context. So you have a deeper understanding. So again, dynamics is the key word of this lesson. So I still don't expect them to fully understand what that word is, but they're getting introduced to it throughout the lesson. Here we go. Fill in the blanks. They can put any word in there. My mother believes in a healthy what and daily exercise. The correct answer was diet. I often plan blank with my mother twice a month. The word is outings. You could come up with a different word. Family ties in Thailand remain strong, and there's a couple answers. I think what was it? Strong and it wasn't even strong and traditional. It was strong and could be strong and traditional. Strong and what was the word that I'm not sure. Could have been a couple different answers. Again, any word that makes sense, I'd accept. Now, we're getting to the point. Understanding dynamics. Now I'll give them straight. They had a couple. They've had a couple points of that, and now I'll give them the straight definition. The word dynamic refers to something that is constantly changing or in motion. When we talk about dynamics, we often mean the forces or patterns that cause change or the relationships between things or people. Now, still not clear probably, but then I like to just keep on reinforcing different things. Some students do actually like definitions like that, and they're able to just think real analytically like that. I don't personally. Did you know the word dynamic comes from the Greek word dynamis, which means power? And then I say related words. Dynamite, which is a powerful explosive. I show them the picture. I show them the Chinese word. Okay. And you're getting more understanding of the word dynamic and dynamics. Show a picture of me and give some examples. Change the simple sentence in any way as long as you keep the word dynamic. The dynamic teacher used many activities to keep the class lively. Now, of course, this picture is not very lively. It's actually me monitoring an exam. But it's a good picture. And again, you can say the dynamic student or the dynamic scientist used many experiments to prove his theory. Again, same thing. The skyline of the city is dynamic with new buildings rising each year. And the dynamics, now we're with the S, the dynamics of a basketball team depend on how well the players work together. The playground dynamics changed when a new student joined the school. So notice again, I like talking about parts of speech. The dynamic teacher, adjective there. Still an adjective, but the skyline of the city is dynamic, a different sentence structure. This one here is the dynamics of a basketball team, noun, and dynamics, the playground dynamics, playground being the adjective in this case, describing dynamics. And here's the questions. Which of the following best describes something that is dynamic? Something old and unchanged, something constantly in motion or changing, something silent and calm, something often ignored. Something constantly in motion or changing is the correct answer. Which sentence correctly uses the word dynamic? The bookshelf is dynamic with books from many years ago. The dynamic lecture made students fall asleep. The dance performance was dynamic and full of energy. The sleepy town remained dynamic for centuries. Correct answer is C. Full of energy, dynamic. None of the other sentences demonstrated dynamic in that sense. The word dynamic comes from the Greek word dynamis, which means old age, stagnant power, or quiet. Answer is power. If the dynamics of a classroom change when a new teacher arrives, it means classroom has been painted a new color, the classroom has many new books, the relationship and behavior in the classroom has shifted, or the classroom has new furniture. The relationship and behavior in the classroom have shifted. Which word is related to dynamic because of its powerful force? I have a picture of a dinosaur just to throw you off, but that's not the correct answer. Correct answer is dynamite, which was explicitly given earlier in the lesson. Pretty easy. Now, here's just a couple fun little activities for the end of my lesson. Some of my advanced students, they send me some memes or something, so it gave me the idea, I'll find some memes for you, or I found them. So I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. Some of them got this, some of them didn't, right? I made sure if you say a book is impossible to put down, what does it mean? Most of them understood that it means it's very interesting and it's hard to put down because you want to keep reading it. Then we talked about anti-gravity. I plugged that in Google Scholar if they didn't know what that meant. Most of them were able to get this one. This one's real tricky. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. You hear that, you think it's following the same sentence structure. Time flies like an arrow makes sense. It goes quickly. Fruit flies like a banana. Why would fruit fly like a banana? But it's different. This flies is a verb. This flies is the noun. And the like is different, whether it's as something or to like something. And the fruit flies like a banana, or they like an apple. They like different fruits that are rotting. Of course, the banana skin has to kind of get peeled open. But oh yeah, they'll eat them. And then I give them this other one. It's similar to. They hear time. I asked them, "Have you ever heard time flies when you are having fun?" Most of them have heard that, and then I said, as a joke, there's one frog sits, sitting on a log, turns to the other frog, and he says, "Time is fun when you are having flies." Time is fun when you're having flies. Again, using a play on words there, and the word flies can be a noun or a verb. Next one, piano. I used to play piano by ear, but now I use my hands. Most of my students actually do play some sort of musical instrument. Some of them play piano or guitar or a violin or trumpet. We talk about what does it mean to play by ear. Some of them know, some of them don't. It means that you're able to hear the tune and play without reading any of the musical notes. And it could mean that if you play by ear that you're using your ears. So it's funny to say I used to play by ear, but now I use my hands, as if you were using your ears to play the piano, which of course is ridiculous, but again, that's what's funny about all of these. The man who invented autocorrect has died. Restaurant in peace. Some of them got this. They understood what autocorrect is. Autocorrect is actually very common in Chinese text. When they're typing, they'll use pinyin, and then different characters will pop up, and you choose which one. And then I showed them an example. If you just type in the word restaurant pops up automatically. It's kind of like a autocorrect thing. So somebody went to push rest in peace, but I got restaurant in peace. It wouldn't really make sense that the man who invented it died. Therefore, when you use it, it's gonna come. I mean, you can critique this joke, but it's funny, I think. Next one is, I'm on a seafood diet. I see food and I eat it. Most of them were able to get this. This one says, I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised. This is, of course, some women shave their eyebrows and redraw them, which I think is ridiculous. But and I don't think that's common practice in China. But if you do that, it's funny. Obviously, if you put them too high, it looks like you're surprised. So that was funny. Some of them actually didn't quite understand this, so I had to explain this. One. I'd tell you a chemistry joke, but I know I wouldn't get a reaction. Talk about to get a reaction, a chemical reaction. Most of them actually are aware of chemistry. They do science early in their school as an elective if they want, and most of my students do. And so that's funny for that reason. This one is, reading while sunbathing makes you well read. I showed this one. It sounds like well read, but it would be well read. Your skin turns red. Of course, not all my Chinese students have had sunburn. Some of them have. They generally don't want to get over tan, so they try to cover their skin, but some of them have been burnt, and they do turn red. Some of them are fair-skinned and have experienced what it's like. Terrible. Some people haven't. Last one here is, I broke my arm in 2 places. You know where I won't go now? Those places, right? Now, the picture of here shows, ulna and radius or something, as two different parts of your arm are broken. I broke my arm in 2 places, but it has ambiguity there because you could have broken them like at the store and at the school. But now I won't go to those places because those are the places where I broke my arm. So that's that. I have another one. I'm gonna catch up. We're just gonna have to catch up. I still have a little sore throat here. I went like 10 years without getting sick. Then this COVID epidemic came out, and now it seems like I get sick once a year. You know, it just feels like a regular cold. But it's probably that. I think I'm immune to the common flu, and now it's going to take like 10 years for my body to build up an immunity to this COVID. So I'm probably going to get sick once a year until there's enough variants that my body has built up the immunity. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube now? Because it's true. That's how the body works. It's called evolution, and I love it. All right, we'll stop there. Bye-bye.